for more on the festive season road safety plans, we are joined by Road Traffic Management Corporation spokesperson, Mr. Simon Zwane. Mr. Zwane, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. You know, Kara Smith in that clip painting such a stark image, right? Saying that over the festive season we lose the equivalent of people that could take up 27 large buses over the festive season. I don't know what you say of that, and perhaps you can also talk to us about the stats. But the argument that she puts forward about how we need to treat this as a national disaster, would you agree with that?
Certainly, there's no denying that road crashes in this country are unacceptably high. And in fact, they're intolerable if one considers the fact that they are avoidable with effort from the road users, the drivers, the pedestrians, with passengers using their safety belts. We can see a reduction in this. And we need then also the partnerships with the organization that she represents and others working together with government and spreading this message around safety on the roads. We think that we can be able to make inroads and start to reduce the numbers of people who are dying in preventable conditions in South African roads.
At what point do we need to treat it as a disaster? And I suppose from the reason why I ask that is that perhaps then that warrants more of a different approach, perhaps from law enforcement and policies perhaps that come into place when you treat drunk driving and road fatalities as a disaster in the country. Because it also speaks to whether or not year on year we're seeing any sort of improvement over the festive season.
Yeah, it is for that reason, that because we see the seriousness of the situation, that we mobilize all law enforcement authorities when it comes to these times of the year to work together on the roads, not only traffic officers, but it's also the police that are on the roads, and they're working all together with municipal traffic officials, provinces, and all of that, so that there are many hands that are attending to the problem. So we are seeing a problem. Of course, drunken driving is a problem in the country. All studies show that the consumption of alcohol in this country is just too high. But even if you look at the number of taverns that are opened, you can see that we do have a problem of drinking in the country. So it becomes then a big problem when also people have drunk alcohol and they start walking on the roads, onto the busy roads under the influence of alcohol, and leading to accidents that we call pedestrian accidents. So those accidents that involve pedestrians, they now constitute about 45% of all fatalities in the country. So we need to attend to that problem of pedestrians who are colliding with vehicles on South African roads, mostly within the build-up areas, not so much on the busy highways and all of that, but although it's still happening there, especially where amenities are on the different sides of the roads. So we see that happening, but also within the build-up areas, within the municipal boundaries, where we are seeing a high number of these things happening. So we need to increase enforcement of the laws in those areas.
Yeah. Talk to me about, I don't know if you have the data perhaps at this point of how many drunk drivers at this point, as of the 17th of December from the 1st, have been arrested. I've got data here that says more than 700 drunk drivers having been arrested since the start of the festive season with that road safety campaign. I mean, 700 in just a matter of weeks it's a big number.
No, it is a big number. You will remember that the 2 weeks that we've come from, they've included end of the month period, that is around the 1st and the 31st was end of the month. People had money, and it was also the long weekend of the 16th. People had more money and they were There were also festivities that were taking place. Stockfels were sharing, and all of those activities were taking place, and there was a high consumption of alcohol. As we go to the coming weekend leading to Christmas, we are getting really concerned, because now this is going to be the weekend of more festivities, imicimbi in the rural areas, weddings taking place, and the consumption of alcohol is going to be higher. So that is why we need now to adjust our law enforcement plans to respond to that reality, that there is going to be a high consumption of alcohol within built-up areas. People would have reached their destination, they will now be enjoying themselves, and therefore the number of crashes and fatalities within the built-up areas are likely to go up. So we are going to go in there with the SAPS, traffic officials, and everybody to then try and enforce that. And also enforce hours of trade by taverners and those people who are selling alcohol, so that we don't see the situation where people are drinking open until very early hours of the morning, and then when they close, that becomes announced by the number of crashes and fatalities that we see. Because at the moment you see high number of fatalities around 2 o'clock to about 6 o'clock in the morning. That is the time when most taverns close, and people then stagger out of these places under the influence of alcohol. Others get into their cars under the influence of alcohol, and then you see people being knocked down by vehicles around 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., and the number of accidents start increasing, also going to about 5 a.m. When most of these people have come out of taverns.
Yeah.
So we want to prevent that. We will be in these areas until we are policing on 24/7, and we will be around those areas within built-up areas until early hours of the morning, when the places close and people are going home.
Is there any sort of special intervention in the Eastern Cape? I mean, just moments ago, I was talking about 2 accidents, 2 fatalities and crashes that took place there. So, I mean, 15 people killed in 1 accident in Graaff-Reinet, 2 other people killed in car cuttings in East London. Any sort of special intervention that goes to areas that you know are particularly troubled?
Yeah, in the Eastern Cape, we have augmented their law enforcement capacity with the addition of the National Traffic Police, and the routes that link the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape are also patrolled by what they call corridor patrol. So the Western Cape will patrol these vehicles coming into the Western Cape and hand over to the officers in the Western Cape to continue the work. So they would know, for instance, when it comes to public transport vehicles, that this public transport vehicle passed this particular spot at this time, and they are now at reaching the border of the Eastern Cape at this time, meaning this person has not taken a break, and they will be forced to take a break because they will be tired at that time. Because we've also seen with the recent crash that claimed 15 lives. That takes a travel from the Western Cape and was going to the Eastern Cape. We suspect fatigue might have played a role in that incident. So we want to avoid such incidents from happening.
Yeah. You, of course, as the RTMC as well as have flagged the issue of what's come out of the National Traffic Information System around compliance, people making sure that their cars are roadworthy and that their discs are up to date. Talk to us about that data, if you will.
Yes. There has been quite a number of people who have been arrested already for driving without valid driving licenses. But on top of that, people, particularly public transport and freight operators are not taking their vehicles for roadworthiness tests. We know from the investigations that we are doing that some of them are bribing vehicle testing stations to obtain roadworthy tests. So there are investigations currently going on. Arrests have been made in some cases. There will be more arrests made because if a vehicle has not been taken for roadworthy testing, that vehicle later on gets involved in accidents, such as we have seen in the Pongola incident 2 years ago. That truck and the trailer, they had obtained their roadworthy certificates fraudulently without going to the vehicle testing stations to be tested.
Yeah.
So in the new year, there will be charges. Some people will be appearing in court in connection with that. But we know we've analyzed in all of the incidents that happened, particularly the major crashes were involving trucks and taxis. We do go in and analyze all the information, look at the roadworthiness of the vehicles, look at whether they were properly licensed and properly registered to be on the roads. Where we find inconsistencies and evidence of fraud and corruption, well, then those people get charged with fraud and corruption relating to those issues.
Okay, really important for us to be reminded of, the importance of being compliant. Mr. Zwane, before I let you go, at this time, many people, of course, if they haven't already left for their festive season destinations, still planning that route and really deciding how they're going to be traveling. Things to keep top of mind. A few tips for us as we put those plans down.
Top of mind that people must then plan their traveling time and routes carefully, taking into consideration the weather conditions. It might not be raining when you leave the particular province, but do check what the conditions will be when you get into the next province where you are traveling to, because it might be raining. So you plan your trip to avoid getting involved or being stuck on the road because of heavy rains. And when it starts raining and it's a storm, we advise that you must find a safe place to park and wait until the storm has passed. It's not necessary to try to drive through the storm where visibility becomes a challenge. In some provinces, also, they experience misty conditions. So we're asking motorists then in planning their trips, to take all of those considerations into account and plan to travel when there's sufficient light, when they can see where they are going. When traveling during the day, when there's sufficient light, you also making provision for you to be able to obtain assistance should you experience a mechanical breakdown of any other sort while you are on the road.
Yeah.
Whereas when you travel at night or early hours in the morning, you might not get assistance. And in fact, while you are fixing your car on the side of the road, you might just become a victim of criminals. So that is why we are emphasizing on people traveling when there's sufficient light and when they can see even other challenges on the road.
Yeah.
And it is safer to do it like that. All evidence points to the fact that most accidents are happening at night, very late at night or early hours of the morning, and those times are very dangerous. From around 10 p.m. to 4 or 5 in the morning, those times are very dangerous to be on the road. So start off when there's sufficient light, and you can get there safe and stay alert. And it's hot. People should also make sure that they are properly hydrated. So have a lot of water and enough rest before undertaking the trips.
100%. So much for us to think about, and we do appreciate the tips that will help us get to our destination safe and back home safely as well. Simon Zwane, of course, is a spokesperson for the Road Traffic Management Corporation, speaking to us this evening.